So head strip back down again. Get a look at these seats. We're going to recut all three of our valve angles back onto this. So your three angles are going to be your 45, which is this angle on your valve right here. This is the main sealing angle. The other two angles are going to be approximately 60 degrees and 30 degrees. That will vary slightly. I'm talking about these Japanese racing bikes is going to be your typical three angles. Well, we can all 100% rest assured that I'm no artiste, but this is going to give you a little bit of an idea of what's going on. So this is your valve, and this is a cross section of your seat. So your valve face is 45 degrees, so that's your main cut on your valve seat, and it's the first cut you're going to make. The other two cuts, which is a 60 degree, it's hard to see in the picture, and again, it's difficult to draw, and then your 30 degree, and then this is the head of the face of your cylinder head. When I dropped these valves in, I did a quick lap on them, and you can see this dark ring on the sealing surface, and that ring is a little bit too far down on the valve. It should be right in the middle, but the width on it is pretty good. However, the valve is more than likely cocked just a little bit, and it's minute, but it's just not sealing. So we're going to recut this 45, and we'll recut the 60 and 30 to bring this in the center. The reason and again, you could just do a 45, but what happens is with the 30 and the 60, it allows greater airflow around the valve, less turbulence. So that's why we cut all three angles. And now this is just basically going to be a quick demonstration, because most of you guys are not going to be able to do this at home. The tool for this is a new way valve seat cutting tool, and it's extraordinarily expensive. So we got our three cutters, our 30, our 45, and our 60. And these things have carbide blades on them. And we have a pilot that will drop down inside your valve guide. And then this drops on here, and these carbide cutters will actually cut this valve seat to a 45 where it needs to be. But before we do that, I need to get some machinist dye on all these seats so I can see what I'm doing. This is what we're using here, Dychem blue layout fluid. It has a little brush in the can. This stuff is a mess, so it will get everywhere, but it doesn't really matter. We just want to coat these seats real well so we can keep track of what we're doing. And this washes right off with brake clean, so don't worry about being messy with it. Now we just need to let that completely dry. Doesn't take long. Alright, our layout fluid is dry, and we'll make our first cut of our 45 on this seat. So that goes right down inside of that guide. It's super solid. Again, like I said, we're going to do our 45 first. So we'll just make one light cut and kind of take a look at what our seat looks like. So right away we just did a light cut, and I'm hoping that this crappy ass camera will pick up the shiny part of this seat where it was cut. So you can see it's shiny right here. That 45 looks really nice. Right here it's not even touching. Same with right here. This is not even touching at all. So we need to get this so the entire valve seat is cut. And it's starting to get there along this backside. Not yet. Now, as you can see, our seat is cut all the way around our 45-degree angle, and it's thinner in some spots and thicker in some spots, but that's not a problem. The manufacturer recommends a thickness of that 45-degree angle. Now, every manufacturer is going to have their own specs on this thing, but I mean, a good general rule of thumb, and Kawasaki here is saying for the intake and exhaust, they're looking for 2 1/100ths to 4 1/100ths of an inch thick of the valve seat. Now we definitely have that. It could actually go a little bit more. You don't want to go too much, because what happens is the valve starts sitting deeper and deeper in the head, and then you won't be able to shim it any longer. In which case you'd have to replace the head or send it out and have the seats replaced. I certainly don't have any ways to replace these seats at home, and I have absolutely no ambition to get anything to do that. So I just want to avoid that altogether. So I think I'm going to make a little bit more of a cut, make this just a tick wider, and then I'm going to put some non-drying layout fluid in here and get a pattern on my valve. All right, this is the nasty stuff right here. This stuff gets all over everything. It's like an ink, and it does not dry. All right, so the purpose of what we're doing here is we're going to see where this contact surface is in relationship to the valve face. So ideally what I'm looking to do is drop this valve down inside the head and tap it without turning it to see where our contact patch is going to be. If it's going to be too high or too low, that's going to tell me where to make my 30 and 60 degree cuts. So as you can see right here, the valve seat is very wide. Right here it looks pretty good. Here I'm just not making really good contact, but what I need to do is tap this thing with a little bit of a 30, which is going to be this bigger angle on the end, and bring that line this way just a touch. I'm just going to go ahead and check all of them while I'm here. Same thing here, the seat width is too wide. We're going to make a 60 and a 30 degree cut very lightly, and that will thin that line up. Well, they said this stuff won't dry up, but it's drying up a little bit. Yeah, same thing here. In fact, I don't think I really even need to cut the 60 on this one. We just need to cut the 30 to bring this line down just a little bit. It's crazy, it is drying up just a little bit. It is a balmy 52 degrees in here. And the same with this one. I'll do a light 60 degree pass on the inside, and then we'll just hit it pretty good with the 30. Now the 60 is a very aggressive cut. You got to go real easy. The 30 is going to be a little bit more difficult, so I can put a little more pressure on it, and we'll squeeze that up. Alright, I've got a good cut all the way around. We'll go ahead and hit the rest of them. The key is taking off the minimal amount of material necessary. There's our 60s. And we'll go ahead and cut our 30s. Now you may have to do this a few times. You can see the dark line is going to be your 45 degree valve contact area, and that should be even all the way around. And now basically what we're going to do is just do the same thing with the grease. The greasy die, and make sure that we're lined up properly on our valve. If we are, our 3-angle valve job is complete.